And I did it. Hi, Miss Michelle. That was my last one. I was able to get in before we started. Good Monday morning. Can you guys believe we are into August already? I don't know what happened. I don't know what has happened. I don't know where, well, I do know, but I don't know where 2025 has gone thus far. Been quite chaotic. Obviously, lots of reasons for it to have been chaotic, but it just never ceases to amaze me how quickly time passes, how you wake up one day and you're like, wait, where are we again? Like, how did we get to this date? It's kind of crazy, right? It's a lot. There's like just so much going on, so many different directions, trying to keep it all together. Oh, good morning, Sherry. Good morning. So I tried to get everybody. I think I got you all. If I didn't, I love you. I'm so sorry. But I think I got everybody so far. And anybody that's watching that's not able to text or chat with us, good morning to you as well. Hopefully you were enjoying your morning coffee. Of course, I have my Mickey mug. It is filled with ice water. I've had to switch to ice water for for coffee time, only because I'm trying so hard to not choke the whole time. Usually if I choked or if I needed a little sip, Eric could sense it. And so he would like take over for half a hot second. And so I could like mute and cough or sip or something. But anyway, ice water today. I also have my backup, which is my Diet Coke. And I have already had my coffee this morning. So the dogs wake up extra early. I don't know what's going on, if it's just something happening. There's a lot of construction going on, so it could be that just the equipment's waking them up. But anyway, so cheers to you. As Shafiq said, and Jane, same thing. If you're on the other side of the pond, it's not necessarily good morning coffee time. It's probably lunchtime coffee time. But either way, thanks for joining in and hope you are having a wonderful day so far. I hope you have a wonderful week coming up. But I hope you had a wonderful week that just passed. And I hope you had a great weekend. So what did you guys do? Good morning, Jay. Good morning, Angela. Anyone else that may have popped in? What did you guys do? Where'd you go? How was it? It's absolutely crazy. I really miss, good morning, Gary. I miss I miss the weekend break. I think we talked about this before. As adults, if you, depending on what your job is, you may or may not have weekends off. Obviously that's going to be different for lots of people, lots of different occupations. Some people never have day off. Some people, have lots of time off. They get to work remotely and they can kind of make their own hours. So, all I can say is that I really do miss a day off, a day where the phone goes away, a day where it's not constantly beholden to what's going on and everything, but that's okay. Comes with it. And I'm happy to help. So good morning. What went on this weekend? I'm going to be honest. I don't know. I know I know what I did. Oh my gosh. Lord have mercy. I did a lot of quarter round molding installation. That's right. Jack of all trades here. Not just do I sell real estate, have this background in that, but pretty handy with a brad nail gun. Yep, I can do that. I can also saw at a 45-degree angle. That's right. I installed it. Seems mostly okay. Not perfect, but honestly, they were pretty doggone good in some cases. That is a task, it's those little tiny things. I needed a project to kind of decompress a little bit. A little tiny project that wasn't overwhelming, just something that I could do that kind of needed to get done. So I just did some quarter round molding installation. So it was kind of fun to have a little trim project over the past several days. So got that done. I probably still have specks of paint because, after you install it, of course, the best product ever. Oh, I should have brought some up here. Oh, well, never mind. It's 3M. It's like a 3-in-1 hole filler. It's like a little white tube. The top of it is a black top with a little bit of sandpaper on it. The bottom of the tube is shaped like a little spackle knife. The tube is white plastic, and then inside is it's the white liquid or the white material. And you just squeeze it out like tiny, tiny little hole. You can pop that hole, wipe it off, sand it, and then you can fill it and paint it. And that's what I was doing. So that's what I did. Did anybody else have any projects? The weather's been kind of hot. We've had a couple days of manageable. I've been like extra hot lately. And no, it's not menopause. I've already been there, done that. it's just extra hot. So I've had like extra fans on me. So anyway, the ice water is going to come in handy. So good morning, everybody. Waiting for everybody to join in. Hold on, I got glasses. I can't see. Thea, good morning, Thea Graham. How are you? And anyone else again that may have popped in. Angela, I think I said good morning to you, but if not, you said good morning, everyone, and then you said happy Monday, everyone, because you said it twice. I'm going to say it back to you twice. Good morning, Angela. Good morning, Angela. Good morning, Mark. You just popped in. So nice to see everybody again. I always thank you guys joining in. And today we've got a lot of stuff going on. We have our topics. We have some information. We have some scoop. We have all sorts of fun stuff. So with that, I guess we can go ahead and get started. You ready? All right. Here's what's brewing. Okay, so our brewing topics for today, the Watermark Park groundbreaking ceremony. We referenced this a few weeks ago, or a couple weeks ago, probably, in our secret. It may have been scoop, it may have been secret. Talking about that a little bit today. Moving out final checks, some good information if you're getting ready to move out, and then of course our back to school. We have to talk a little bit about that and what that might look like. So let's go to our first topic, which is the Watermark Park the groundbreaking ceremony. So that was held just like we said it was going to. By the way, these are not my pictures. This was on the Watermark Facebook page. So our lovely family, Jen Ross and Daryl Ross, sent those photos to us at that ceremony. It's fantastic. We're really excited about that for that area, that community. Again, if you're not sure where Watermark is, Watermark was a Meritage Homes community. It is, for those of you that are in Horizon West off of Seidel Road, there is a little shopping area called The Mark. There's a Starbucks, 7-Eleven, there's a Walgreens, New York Beer Project, Huey Magoo's. How could I forget Huey Magoo's? There's an Italian ice. There's just everything is right there. So great spot. And that's called The Mark. That's a shopping area right there, kind of at the entrance to Watermark itself. Watermark actually had several phases. The initial phase was on the opposite side of Seidel, down a little bit, very close to where the Ashton Woods community is. And then there was phase 2 is kind of the big one where all of the major amenities are in that community. So it's an absolutely lovely community. It's been closed out for a long time now. Lots and lots and lots of sales in there in that community. Lots of happy homeowners. And so it's really nice that, excuse me, even years later, they're kind of still sprucing it up, making sure that there's a nice little play area. And again, those pictures were not mine. I want to make sure I say that because I don't know who took them and I don't want you to get mad. But we're happy that they took them and hopefully you're okay that we shared them because we're excited for all of those residents there in that area and the surrounding areas. It's a good little spot. Looks like it's going to be a lot of fun. It's nice to have areas for the kids to play, just a place to walk. Most of the communities honestly have some nice parks or playgrounds. They have the pools, but in Florida, a lot of the amenities are focused on the pool, right? Because it's so hot. So you're going to want to be out. You're going to want to be splashing around. So usually the pools and fitness centers, those tend to be, kind of a big draw. Green space, obviously the county has regulations within the communities as to how much green space you have. Not every community, by the way, has amenities as far as pools, fitness centers, parks, playgrounds, things like that. Some of them do not, and some of them have minimal, and some of them have maximum. But Watermark is a fantastic community, so we're excited for all of the residents in that area to have a new area for the kids to go play. I don't know. It feels homey. It feels like fun. Feels like it reminds me when my kids were little. We didn't have growing up when my kids were little. In Virginia, our neighborhood was like a little one street and a cul-de-sac community. So there were no amenities. There was like this tiny little bit of green space in the back, and somebody plopped a picnic bench in it and called it amenities. And there was also snakes back there, so no one ever went back there. But it is really nice to have those types of things. So the question that I will pose to you guys today, as we kind of go through this, I always like to get that feedback and to find out what people like, what people are looking for, what people use and don't use. So let's talk amenities just for a hot second, since that is our brewing topic number 1 with the groundbreaking ceremony for the Watermark Park, is here's the question. What do you want for amenities? And what do you actually use for amenities? And this is, again, obviously going to be posed to those of you who live in communities where you do have them. Some of you may not be from this area. Maybe your community doesn't have amenities, but you can still kind of take an educated guess. What kind of person are you? And I'll tell you exactly the type of person I am. When we first moved here from Virginia, we were between two communities, the community we ultimately chose and the community that was right next door. Very different communities. One was a very big community, had a big, beautiful amenity center in the middle, large, several different builders in the community, kind of, backed up to a lake. There was a community fishing pier, and it was just really lovely. Candidly, we couldn't afford that community when we moved here. And my original thought process was, if we move into a community that has amenities like a pool, then I'll be okay. Maybe I'll get out of my little introverted shell and maybe I'll go to the amenity center, go to the pool, meet some neighbors or whatever. Because remember, at this time I wasn't in real estate. That was not part of the deal between Eric and myself when we first moved here. Or we could move into the community that we ultimately chose, get the house that we wanted. So the actual structure that was going to service our family, that was going to be the shelter for Eric and myself and our kids, and our dogs, and our cat, is ultimately what we chose. And because that community was smaller, we were able to add a pool. It was a small pool. It was the teeniest. It was like you dip your toe in and that's about the size of the pool. But we had one and it was great for us. I mean, for us as a family moving from Virginia, we're like, that's fine. And we didn't even use that often, to be quite honest. So my original brain was like, I'll use the amenities. And then we ended up getting the pool, didn't even really use the pool that much. Now, fast forward to the second home that we were in. We were in a beautiful community, lots of amenities. You did have the community pool. Pool was beautiful, fitness center. The only time I ever stepped foot into the amenity center or into the fitness center or anything like the clubhouse, any of that was to show other clients that were moving into the community, because that's not the person I am. We had our own pool at that point. We were building as you know, we built our house, built our pool. So everything we had was, literally right there in our backyard. Almost knocked over my water. So that's just me. But I know a lot of people are very, very interested. My son would go to the gym quite a bit. So he used the fitness center there at the amenity center. So what about you? So let's see if any of you had any comments on amenities. By the way, Kim joined in. Good morning, Kim. Jeremiah's is in there. Yes, Jeremiah's is in the mark. You are right. Elizabeth, this is a really good point. I wonder why this is on your brain. Would love more covered playgrounds for the kiddos. I was actually going to mention that the playgrounds, it's almost like you can't really win. If you get the plastic type playgrounds where they're a little safer, they're blazing hot, right? And you can still scorch yourself. And if it's the metal playground, you can still scorch yourself. So Elizabeth's talking about covered play areas to help keep that crazy sun and heat from just making those playgrounds honestly unusable. So yeah, I love that. That's a good one. Allie, I use the green spaces and walking paths with the baby and for runs. Also a big fan of the Waterly handling lawn maintenance as part of the HOA. Yes. I was actually just talking to a client on the phone. What day? Saturday, I think it was. Nope, it was Friday. Friday. And we were talking about that, about basically a couple of different options, 55 plus. And when we decided that wasn't going to work, we talked about Waterly, because Waterly does have the HOA, does include the lawn maintenance. There are, like Lakeshore, the Toll Brothers community also includes lawn maintenance. So there's a few. But most of them do not. So, but I do. That's a good one. So when we talk about amenities, that service, in my opinion, is definitely well worth it. Pam, I agree, Elizabeth, with when these developers are putting in playgrounds, they really should cover them, because with the scorching sun, the slides and everything else gets so hot for the kiddos. Yeah, and you can't really use them. And so then you feel bad, right? The kids are like, I want to go to the playground, and then you try to take them and everything's too hot, or you're like throwing cold water on it trying to cool it off. Kim, we don't use the amenities and we built our own pool. Yeah. Tracy, I don't have little ones anymore, but I do like the feel of communities that offer parks and playgrounds for the residents. Love walking paths in neighborhoods, and shade is always welcome. You know what? That is a really good point. The walking paths. There are a lot of communities now that are incorporating those walking trails in the community. So it's not just that it's a sidewalk, it's that they're trying to give you, maybe it's out on the perimeter. Some of them even have like mile markers. So you can kind of use that as your exercise, be a little bit proactive in your health while you're still enjoying the recreation of just being out, enjoying the weather, getting a little exercise. So they'll have these walking trails. They'll have little like markers, like this is a quarter mile, this is a half mile, this is 3/4, this is your mile, or whatever it is. And then sometimes at those stations, they also have like a little built-in workout station. And I know they have that in some of the 55 plus communities. They'll kind of incorporate that in, so you really can not only have an indoor gym, but if you want to do the walking, I'm a big fan of that too. I think if I were to do anything, it would just be nice to have a really beautiful community, perhaps one that's a little bit more mature with the landscaping. If you haven't seen it already, if you go back to, oh goodness, I guess it was one of the Sunday drives that Eric and I did. And I believe it was Keens Point. It was in Windermere. I think it was Keens Point. It may have been Isleworth. I don't know. I think it was Keens Point though. Anyway, when we were in there, we did a quick little Sunday drive because it's a gated community. It's a guard gated community. You can't just wander in there and just drive around, but we were there working, had clients out in that area purchasing a home. So we were out doing our work related things and decided we'd do a quick drive just so you could see. But what I noticed there was the beautiful canopied sidewalks. I mean, obviously the community, the homes are a little bit older, so the canopy of the tree branches over those sidewalks, it really did make it lovely. So it's kind of hard to find that mature landscaping in some of these areas here in Dizzy's backyard, but they exist. So, all right. Well, anyway, let's move on to our topic number 2. But keep on going. If you like amenities, this is really good feedback. You know, there's a lot of times where some of the builders, you know, some of the sales managers used to be people that I worked with because they were a site agent sales associate originally. Now maybe they've stepped up, they've been promoted, they're in a different position. We chat a lot. You know, I'll bring a client in, we have our conversation, and then I chit chat with the person again a little bit longer. And they like the feedback. I was actually giving one of the sale VPs some feedback on one of the listings, and just kind of what we were getting and some suggestions. And, you know, builders don't always see things from the consumer side. They try, right? They try, but they're a corporation. They have to speak to other people. They have to be held accountable to people in a different category than just you and I, the regular buyer out there. So sometimes it's nice to kind of hear that original feedback or that genuine feedback. So yeah, amenities, like, you know, would you rather be able to you know, have a big community with lots of crazy awesome amenities? Would you actually use them? And I do think that some of them, like some of those 55 plus communities, I think that if you are that person, there's no better deal in town. Like those 55 plus, if you are a person who will be active and try to make friends and be a part of a group that likes to get up every Saturday morning and go walk Disney, or if you want to be a part of a men's group who sits and chats and plays cards and whatever the case is, it's just those are some great options. Okay, so I am going to move on, but I am going to read Dina's real quick. I enjoy our pools, fitness center, and walking, bike paths, also the playgrounds when my son was little. Amenities are definitely something I look at when I look at communities in Florida. Good. It's good to know. I love that. Love, love, love. All right, so let's move on to brewing topic, excuse me, number 2. Moving out. See, I told you. Moving out, the final checks to scratch off of your list. So this is, let me go find Dina's. Let me pull that down. Okay. Boop, 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 boop. There we go. Okay. Sorry, had to do that. Also swallowed an ice cube. Not going well this morning. All right. If you are a seller, and this is what's important, like literally I swallowed an ice cube. It's like melting in my throat as we speak. Okay. If you are a seller and your home, yay, is under contract and yay, you're getting ready to close, you will receive from me, you'll get a seller's checklist. Buyers get a buyer's checklist. Sellers get a seller's checklist. And it's going to go over some of the things that you often forget about, you know, because you're busy packing up, right? Your home is under contract. You're like, okay, time's ticking. I got to get out of the house by such and such a date. You're boxing up, you're packing up, you're scheduling movers, you're figuring out where you're going. Maybe you're going to a new home. So now you've got to make sure that things are scheduled to be delivered there. You got to get new appliances for that house. You got to get new furniture. You got to schedule that pod to be delivered or whatever. You're focused on the where you're going, but you need to not forget to take a moment and take care of where you've been. So for the home that you are selling, make sure that these are on your to-do list. I gave myself my own little sheet here. And remember, I have this that I give to my clients when their homes go under contract so that you'll know kind of what you want to do. Make sure you don't forget some of these, because I have had clients forget. And then all of a sudden we're at the last minute and we're like, oops, and we got to get that taken care of. So the first thing is, just like you need to schedule utilities to be turned on wherever it is that you're going, don't forget to schedule your utilities to be turned off at your existing home. However, hold your horses. Don't get too excited. If your house is scheduled to close, let's just say your home is scheduled to close on, what is today? Today is it really the 4th? Oh. All right, so let's just say your home is scheduled to close on Monday, August 4th, right? So this is the day that everyone is going to sign. Everything is going to be funded. Keys are transferred over. No longer your house, becomes the buyer's house. Do not schedule your utilities to be turned off on August 4th. In my opinion, I suggest to my clients that they schedule the appliances, they schedule the utilities to be turned off the next day. Now, here's why. If you have scheduled your utilities to be turned off on August 4th, okay, let's say the buyers are closing at 3 p.m. and they're going to do their final walkthrough at your house at 2 p.m. But everybody turns off your utilities first thing in the morning on the 4th. So now the buyers, if they have not scheduled utilities to be turned on yet, it's a possibility that they're going to come into their final walkthrough and there's going to be no power, there's going to be no water. Internet's kind of okay, but no power, no water. And now they've come into their final walkthrough and they're like, what's going on? And you want to make sure that those utilities are still on. Now, this is what has happened in almost every case, including my own home. I had the utilities scheduled to be turned off the day after closing. So when the buyers purchased my house, I had the utilities set up to be turned off the day after closing. However, the buyers did their due diligence. They scheduled the utilities to be turned on the day of closing, the day that they would take possession of the home. So when they scheduled utilities to be turned on, then I got my message from the utilities company saying, hey, we've got this request to have them turned on, so we're canceling yours sooner. Great. Perfect. That's the way we wanted it to be done. There was no lapse in service. Everyone was able to go in. I still had my utilities ended up being, canceled or turned off out of my name a day earlier, but I was still protecting them so that if they came in and there was a little lapse, because what if you have scheduled to be turned off? They turn things off at, 8 a.m., but they don't schedule things to be turned on until 2 p.m. We don't know, right? So just play it safe. Anyway, so utilities, number one. That was a long description of utilities. The other one is leave a list as a courtesy. So for my clients, I have them fill out what I call it's just a utility info. So they will fill out who is the power provider, who is the water provider, who is the internet provider, who handles, I even have a spot in there for like lawn care, cleaning service, pool company, things like that, where you can fill that out as the seller. I actually do it when I do my listing agreement so that it's already there. It's already uploaded in the MLS. People should have that information because that's important too. But it's really nice, even if it's just a courtesy, maybe your realtor doesn't provide that, you should still think about that. Go, okay, we use Duke Energy and this is the phone number and this is Spectrum is our internet and this is blah, blah, blah. And our security system is blah, blah, blah. You can list all of that information so that they will know. And that's a great courtesy. It's a wonderful thing to have when you are the buyer coming and going, I don't know, I just moved here from Iowa. I don't know what is what over here. So it's great to have those. So the list of utilities and contact phone numbers. Also keys. Don't forget your keys. How many people forget about your keys? So here's two things you can do with your keys. And this needs to be communicated with your listing agent because different people have different processes and preferences. So if you are pre-signing your documents, a lot of times a seller can pre-sign their documents, days earlier. Well, if you're pre-signing your documents, but you're still living in the house, then you don't want to dump off all your keys and garage door openers and all that stuff to the title company in preparation for the buyers coming in and closing. So most people will leave it at the house. Well, there still needs to be a way to access the house, right? And so that is where the lockbox comes from, where the listing agents have the lockbox on the door. So I usually, if the buyers are doing their final walkthrough the day of closing, I usually instruct the buyer's agent. I say, are you going to be with your buyers at closing? And if they say yes, then I tell them, then when you do your final walkthrough, you may remove that final key, which is in the lockbox, because the rest of the keys and things are in the kitchen. You may take that key with you and you can provide it to them at closing once everything has funded. Or there's any number of ways that you can communicate that. But the point is, make sure that you gather all those keys. I can't tell you the number of times, oh, my son has a key, but he lives in Tennessee. Oh, my daughter has a key. Okay, well then get those keys back, have them mail them. If you see them, great. If not, they need to toss them. Then in which case you might want to tell the buyer, hey, if you want, you can rekey the house, however that may work for you. But keys to the house, amenity centers, key fobs, if you have amenity center key fobs, mailbox keys, and don't forget to include what mailbox number it is. Because I promise, once you've left the house and it's 3 weeks later and the buyer finally gets around to checking their mail, there's like, what's that mailbox number? And you're going to go, and you're not going to remember. So mailbox key, mailbox number. Where is that mailbox kiosk located? Remember, very few communities out here have their own mailboxes in their front yard. Most everyone uses those big mailbox kiosk centers. And so, instructions on which mailbox it is, what the number is, and where it is located within the community will be a huge help. Also, things like, what else? Garage door openers. Don't forget those. Don't leave that in your car as you're leaving. Yes, you may be going, well, how am I supposed to lock the door when I leave? Well, I'm sure you can figure that out, right? You can either go through the garage and then come out the front door and then, lock the door with the handle before you shut the door. However, you can figure that out. If you need help from your realtor, let them know. They'll be able to assist. But make sure that you have all of that. If you have a gated community, if you have a gate clicker, I don't think there's as many of the little clickers anymore for the community gates, but if there are, make sure that you leave that. So in other words, accumulate all of those things that you're going to need to transfer over to the buyer. Don't forget about it at the last minute. We don't want to play, pickup sticks all over town trying to find this last minute mailbox key. And Tom's cousin came and visited, and they're the ones that have the amenity center key fob because they came over. No, gather all that stuff up, put it in a bag in a safe place, and keep that all together and leave that there for the buyers. Final clean. It is a courtesy. It is not a requirement that you clean the house when you leave, but I always say do unto others as you would have them do unto you. And do you want to move into a nasty, filthy house where people have been moving out and stuff was left under that sofa that finally got moved and hadn't been moved in 3 years? Give it a clean. If you can hire a cleaning service, that's fantastic. You're not obligated to, but then take the time to at least do a pretty decent clean yourself and communicate that in the beginning, because that's really important too. If you communicate with your listing agent, hey, when we leave, we're going to get the people that clean our home, we're going to give it a nice clean before we leave so that we're in great shape. Let us know and follow through with that so that the buyer and the buyer's agent will know. Or if you're like, no, we're leaving it broom swept and counter wiped. That's it. That's what you get. Okay, great. Communicate that so that there's no confusion at the final walkthrough when they come in and they're like, this is not clean, or, wow, this is clean. I wish I'd have known they were cleaning it because I got a cleaning service that I just paid. They're going to be here in like 3 hours to clean it. So anyway, cleaning. And the last couple is make sure that you leave the day before closing if at all possible. And why I say that is because, again, I recently had a closing and the buyers wanted to do a walkthrough the day before closing. Buyers were from out of town. They wanted to do it at 10 a.m. Well, I mean, candidly, the sellers were still in the house packing up and moving. They're not obligated to be completely out the day before closing. But you do need to understand you need to be out and not sleeping in the house the night before closing, if at all possible, because you want to make sure that everything is empty, it is clean, it is ready for the buyers to come in and do their final walkthrough. Because there have been buyers that have done their final walkthrough at 7 a.m., 8 a.m. because they're closing at 9. So just make sure you consider that as well. And that's about it as far as the checkoff list. But remember, if you're the seller, by the way, buyers have a list of things that they need to do too. As soon as they go under contract, there's things that they'll need to start doing as well. But they usually, it's a different list. but sellers have quite a bit to do. So anyway, okay. So any information? Did I miss anything? Is there anything that you as a seller, I always tell people, if you have extra paint, that is the paint of the trim or the walls, you can leave that in the garage if they want you to. But there's, just make sure that you are prepared as the seller as to what it is that you need to leave. Okay. All right, let's go to our third brewing topic, which is something about school. Yep, it's school, guys. It's back to school time. So this is, just as an FYI, this is what the school times are for the majority, for the majority of the schools here in Orange County in Florida. This is not, always check, make sure that you confirm for your specific school, because when you go through, you can see the OCPS website. There are a few random straggler schools that have a different time schedule, but for general purposes, this is what you should probably expect. Elementary schools go from 8:45 a.m. to 3:30. Middle schools go 9:30 to 4:04, and high schools go 7:20 to 2:20. Now, do you see the little number in parentheses that's beside it? Elementary schools, 2:30, middle schools, 2:54, and high schools, 1:10. That is for Wednesdays. On Wednesdays, the schools end an hour earlier, an hour-ish. You can see that sometimes it's exact, sometimes it's not quite. But you will see the time differences there, and that is referencing the Wednesday time, because they leave an hour earlier. That was something that's not something that happened to my kids when they were in school, when we were in Virginia. And so it was eye-opening when I got there, that Wednesdays they ended earlier, which makes it difficult if you are a working parent and you don't have after school care for your, elementary school, some middle schoolers too, trying to determine, especially if you live in an area where they have to walk, which we'll talk about that too. If you have to walk to school because a bus is not provided, now your elementary school or your middle school kid is walking home, potentially on their own because mom and dad or whomever is at work. And now Wednesday it's an hour earlier, so it can really throw a wrench into the regular schedule of people, that have kids that are in that school age range. So just know that, because that was not something that I knew coming into it. So on that note, the back to school, I want to give you some info about the Orange County schools. And I think that ice cube is officially melted. Maybe. So our first day of school here is going to be actually next Monday, the 11th. So Monday, the 11th is when the Orange County schools are going to go back. In Orange County Public Schools, there are 213 schools. So that's a lot of schools here in Orange County. Also, these are some other tidbits pulled right from their own website. The graduation rate is 96%. Magnet programs, there are 43 of them. Digital devices ratio, student to digital device, is 1:1. There are at the moment, or I guess this was probably at the moment, maybe it was last year's. But anyway, it's a 208,000 students, and there are arts in every school. Hallelujah. Thank you for that. Language. I thought this was fascinating. Languages spoken by the students. There are 176. Wow. 176 different languages spoken by the students. So you can see what a challenge that is for a teacher, for an education system, because remember, so many cases, English may not be their first language, right? So you have a lot, interesting story. I was looking at, it was for a client of mine, looking at the ratings for an elementary school. This is something I told them, that you have to do your due diligence on that. But as I was looking myself, I found it was very interesting that there was an elementary school that was not rated like the whole ABC schedule or ABC rating, not rated very highly in that regard. However, they were the #1 dual language learning school. There you go. So maybe by some standards, it didn't rank as high, but to be able to accommodate students that have other languages that might be more comfortable to them, that school was the best one. So that was really kind of cool and fascinating to know. Let's see, meals. This is interesting. And I knew this, but I didn't know it was still a thing. The meals for all of the students, there are no charge. So in Orange County, your schools, there's no charge for the meals. That's pretty cool. And then here is the other one that I think is important. And let me see, I'm going to do the word for this one because this one ties in. Okay. So we're going to skip to word.
Oh, now come on, Amy, tell me what's the word.
All right, so tying this in, school bus and hazardous conditions. So you may have heard us talk many times about the fact that the schools here, that was another eye-opener for me when we first moved here, and I asked my neighbors where was the bus stop. They all laughed at me. They're like, bus stop? And I'm like, yeah, the bus comes and gets your kids. But it was because we lived within that magical zone where if you live within a 2-mile radius of the school, they do not provide transportation unless there are hazardous conditions. So here's a perfect example. And this was my example for my kids when we first moved here. When my kids were, obviously now they've graduated, they've gone on and all that jazz. But when they were first here, my son was in Whispering Oaks Elementary and my daughter was in Sunridge Middle School. And Whispering Oaks, they did not provide a bus because we lived within that 2-mile radius. And so you either had to drive your kid to school or you would walk them. And there are crossing guards. So for those of you that are not used to that, maybe you're new to the area, it is a very big deal. Please take that seriously. Pay attention. If you don't know how that works, make sure you are aware. Turn that radio down, put that phone down. And when school is open, pay attention to those intersections and those crossing guards. They are doing a great service to keep those kids safe. And it can be tricky if you're not paying attention in the big walkways, the walk zones. Make sure you're paying attention. But my son, so I drove him to school. They did not provide a bus. However, we also lived within a 2-mile radius of Sunridge Middle School. But they did provide a bus because there were hazardous road conditions. There was not a secure, safe walkway to get from our community just around the corner, around the bend to Sunridge Middle. So that is important. So when you get here, make sure you pay attention to schools and buses and whether or not a bus is provided to you. If you're going to walk your child, if your child's going to walk themselves, if they're going to ride their bike, make sure that they know all about bike safety and the proper ways to walk their bike through those intersections. Pay attention to those crossing guards. Be kind, be generous, and be aware. But anyway, I thought that was some good info. There's a lot going on. All right, let's move on. So that was, I think, all of our topics, right? I think I got all of them. All right, let's go to secret, shall we? Okay, so this is just what I have noticed here over this past week and a half. It's been very, very busy. There have been more showing requests, which is great, which means the foot traffic is picking up a smidge. Don't get excited, smidge. But we are also at the end of September, right? January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August. Yep, end of September. I can think about it. And end of September is the end of the third quarter. So it doesn't matter to the average seller where we are in the calendar year. We don't care. Like it's, we're moving when we have to move. Maybe we have a house that's being built or maybe we're moving to do whatever, right? So our timeline is not beholden on the end of the third quarter. But trust me that for the builders out here, those quarter numbers matter. It always matters. You'll see incentives change as the market changes, as the calendar year changes, as to what, when, and where, and how they change their pricing and or their incentives. And I will tell you that they are definitely changing their incentives because if you contract now, we're only at the beginning of August, right? So we've still got August and September. If you contract on a new construction home now that's ready, you'll close by the end of September, right? So they want to get you in. They want that number before the quarter is up. If you are purchasing new construction and it's a quick move in, but it's still under construction. And let's just say maybe it's got a couple weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, even maybe worth of construction left on it. They're still going to bust their booty to get that home closed. Obviously making sure your home is built safely and it's well done, but you are within that time period. So you might see that the builders now are really coming in stronger because they've been pretty daggone strong because we've had an uncharacteristically slow spring and summer. but you're starting to see now that they're coming in even more with more incentives, more interest rate locks, more closing cost contributions, a little bit more wiggle potentially. If it is a home that is completed and ready to go, not a build from dirt, guys. No, different concept. They can't get that closed by the end of the quarter, so that's you step back a little bit on that one. But if it's a home that's prepped and ready to go, or it's so close to being ready that it can definitely close by the end of September, they're going to be pushing hard to get those under contract. Now, remember, it takes about 30 days to close on a property here unless you are cash. So if you're doing the math, right? If they need to close by the end of September for the end of that third quarter, that means you need to have contracted by the end of August or the very 1st of September to try to get them to crank that out and get that home ready to close. So anyway, so there's just a little tidbit, some little bit information. I've definitely seen some things picking up a little bit, few more showing requests, which is fantastic because it's been crickets for quite a while. But we're starting to get a few more of those. And again, I'm getting all the builder updates, their new inventory list, and you're seeing these prices, and I'm going, wow, they're coming down, or they're just offering additional closing costs or interest rate locks, things like that. So it's a good time. If you're a buyer, it's a good time. Seller, not so much. All right, move on. Let's see, what else do we have? By the way, I wanted to go back when we were talking about as a seller, some things. Did I forget anything? Tracy, yes, you are so smart. Do not forget to check the refrigerator, washer, dryer, dishwasher, all of those cabinets and drawers for those rogue items. I love that. That was perfect. And I didn't mention that. So that's good. Yes, oftentimes you'll go and there'll be like just a couple of random things in a refrigerator. I think I probably left a couple of Diet Cokes in mine because I needed some until the very last second. And then the chaos of actually getting out of the house, sometimes you do leave those behind. I actually am very grateful to the beautiful family that purchased my home and how patient and understanding they still are, sending me things. Hey, is this yours? Do you want this? I took this down. I don't know if you wanted that curtain back or anything like that. Random mail, even though the mail has been forwarded for a while. But I also want to thank Iris, who is the lady that cleans my house. She and her husband were absolutely instrumental in those last minute like just chaos of like things were not fitting. There was no more room in the car. There was no more room in the pod. There was no more room to put it, and things that I didn't have. I was still stuck. I didn't know what to do with it. And the lady that cleans my house, she and her husband came by and took care of us there toward the end and got the rest of that stuff out. And I believe that she still cleans the house now. So that makes my heart happy. Anyway, all right, moving on. Let's see. Let's go on to what I'm watching. Okay, I know, again, I'm always late to the game. I know this, but it's whatever. I don't care. I'm late to everything. That's fine. So this is Everwood. Apparently this was in the early 2000s. I know. I have a lot going on in my life. Okay. Give me a break. But I found this series. It popped up as recommended, whatever. Everwood with Treat Williams. It's on, I believe it's Paramount Plus. Very few channels I can actually figure out how to make them actually work. But I love this. It's just kind of it's like pre-Virgin River, I don't know if it was pre-Gilmore Girls. Maybe it wasn't pre-Gilmore Girls. But it's just kind of wholesome and quaint. I love it. Obviously, there's a connection there because, his wife, part of why they moved to Everwood is that his wife passed away. And so immediately there was a connection and some things resonated a little bit. But I think it's great. So far, it's quite wholesome. I'm only in the first season, so I don't know if you've ever watched it. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If not, and you're bored and you're looking for something that's kind of wholesome and just not trashy, I have to tell you, I was watching I think it was Hightown or something. I started watching it and then I had to turn it off. I'm like, not for me. It's just too much unnecessary stuff I don't need to see. Anyway, I like this one though. This one's quite wholesome and quite sweet. Okay, I'm going to move on because I have so much. All right, let's do the just listed listing spotlight and those listings. Okay, so our listing spotlight today is a beautiful new construction. Guys, this is new construction being sold by Meritage Homes. I'm the listing agent for this one. It is in the beautiful community of Silverleaf. You have both Meritage and Pulte in that community. And it is located in, Allie's going to be so proud of me. Are you ready? I did it. I did it. I'm so proud. It is in the Hamlin area, Hamlin Village, so to speak, of Horizon West, but nobody refers to them as villages, so don't get all hooked on that. But it is located right there off of Avalon Road, very close, easy access to 429. Again, still Silverleaf is Pulte as well as Meritage. This one happens to be Meritage. This is their bungalow. So it's a rear entry garage style home, brand new. No one has lived in it. So that means, my friends, that it comes with all of the new construction perks. So that means it's going to come with your final walkthrough with the builder, your new homeowner orientation. It's going to come with that builder's warranty, which is typically a 1-2-10. So you get all of that. No one's lived in the house yet, so you don't have to worry about whether or not somebody left something in the refrigerator or in the drawers, unless maybe somebody held an open house and left their soda in there or something. But otherwise, great brand new home, 3 bedrooms, 2.5 baths, a little under 1,800 square feet. Again, new construction, so it comes with all those bells and whistles, and it is close to shopping. And if you use their preferred lender, there's a $10,000 closing cost contribution. And here's what I will tell you from my perspective as your potential buyer agent. Oh, by the way, I don't think we put the price on there. It's $525. $525 is the price on this one. So here's the thing. Call me if you're interested in this home. There are things that we can do to talk about. I had somebody call me and we were discussing quite a bit. Her client really needed an interest rate lock. That was something that they needed. And unfortunately, there was another home that they also liked that was already blatantly offering an interest rate lock that was pretty sweet. And so they chose that home over this one. But don't let that stop you, because when a home like this one is complete, it is ready to go. It is gorgeous. It's just screaming, come like buy me, come live in me, come laugh in this house, have fun in this house. Don't let that stop you, because we can always talk to the builder and see what it is that we can do on these inventories that are officially truly completed. All right, so as far as the listings go, I actually need to change one of those because it just happened. So again, we have the Winter Garden 1-story, a $15,000 closing cost contribution in Winding Bay. We also have the one that says under contract. It closed. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Yeah, so that one closed the other day. Thank you, Leslie, for heading out there and removing that sign and lockbox for me. But that one closed on Thursday, I believe. Waterley, we have that gorgeous cleared in on the corner home site with the balcony exterior elevation. Gorgeous, gorgeous. Also a $10,000 closing cost contribution there. Beautiful Ashby floor plan over in the estates at Lakeview Preserve. Also in Winter Garden in the bottom left corner. Oh, no, you know what? Oh, Allie, you know what? Here's the thing. I get so mad at myself because, Alyssa, when we are doing coffee time prep, when we are doing this, I'm the one that forgets to tell her. The one, and I'm so excited to say, the one in Kissimmee, in Kindred, is under contract. That one is gone, my friends. It is under contract, scheduled to close first part of September. So congratulations to everybody involved there. The Groveland 1-story is under contract. We also have the Davenport 2-story. We have 2 villas in 55-plus communities. One is in the Four Seasons community out in Kissimmee, and the other one is in the beautiful Del Webb Oasis community there in Horizon West. In Winter Garden. The upper right-hand corner is the Silverleaf Bungalow. That's the one that we just talked about. That's our feature listing for the week. So that's going to have additional, some more advertising done on that one. So that'll probably be in some social media posts. But that's a really good one. So again, all of these are good ones. Every single one of these homes, honestly, I'm surprised they're still on the market. But it is just a sign of the fact that there's just too few buyers at the moment and too many homes that are available. And then we have the gorgeous end unit Hawksmoor Townhome. Hawksmoor is also located in Horizon West, right here in Disney's backyard. Love, love, love that community, and love that's the one. They've also added the fireplace in there, so it's really beautiful end unit townhome. So lots going on there, and I promise, Allie, this is my promise to Alyssa, I will fix and double check and confirm and make sure that we put the right banner over top, because I'm very excited that the Kissimmee Kindred home is under contract, and also that the Davenport one closed successfully the other day. So yay, congratulations for that. So on that note, let's do wishes. Hector, Sherry, Paul, Ronnie, and Nancy. So congratulations to all of these people for whatever reason, wherever we are in the process. Maybe your home is getting ready to go on the market. Maybe you just went under contract as a buyer. Maybe you just went under contract as a seller. Maybe we are starting the journey and we had our first initial communication and we're getting ready to start this process. And in all those cases, in fact, that was all those cases. I'm very excited and wishes to everybody there. Yes, Melody, thank you for noticing the Hamlin. Also, by the way, Melody, you are so cute. This is your reminder to hit the thumbs up if you can. Shafiq, yes, you say call you and I never answer the phone. Well, Shafiq, I have to tell you, you don't always call when it's the most convenient time. So unfortunately, when you're calling from across the pond, and I know you're from across the pond, I'm not in a position to answer the phone, but I can respond back to you. All right, let's move on to babies. Okay, so I'm going to let it play. I'm just going to let it play and I'm going to tell you what's going on. For whatever reason, we couldn't get the sound to work because it was two different videos. It was probably better anyway. So to the left is little Miss Elsie. Keep watching. She's feeding one of her cookies to her little Gigi, her little giraffe that she carries with her everywhere. That's her little lovey stuffed animal. Absolutely adorable. It looks pretty well loved. I won't say dirty. I'll say it's pretty well loved. And that is honestly the best when your kids have that stuffed animal that you love, and they love it and they just carry it and tote it with them everywhere. And they know that that's their security. I love that. And that is what this Gigi is to little Miss Elsie. And then if you look over to the right, I would like to apologize to anyone that may get a phone call from Easton. He is auditioning to be my assistant. He stole my work phone. Yes, that is actually my work phone that he is carrying around. And if we did have the audio, you would hear him babbling into it. And then right about here, he lets out a really cute giggle. I don't know if he's imitating Mimi on the phone all the time or what, but he was just walking around and just having so much fun. It was absolutely adorable. So cute. So cute. Seriously, I just love those little munchkins so much. And I could just watch these videos all day with or without sound. It doesn't matter to me one iota. Elizabeth says, I would watch Gigi if Elsie would part with her for more than 5 seconds. I know. That's okay. It's okay. I get it. That's not a problem. That's the way things work sometimes. All right, let's move on. Let's see. I have... Okay, so here we are. Now, when I was talking before about what I did over the weekend, I seem to fail to mention that this past week was really busy with not only work, phone calls, contracts, all that, closings, that we were busy getting my son back to school, back to JMU, James Madison University there in Harrisonburg, Virginia. I just have to tell you a couple things. First of all, look at that campus, the upper right-hand corner. What you see in the background, my friends, first of all, it's a gorgeous campus. And Allie, if you're watching, because Allie, we went through this the other day. Alumna, she's an alumna. Female is an alumna. Male is alumni. Plural alumnus. I don't know. Anyway, whatever. She went to JMU. Her husband went to JMU. Eric went to JMU and Dawson goes to JMU. So he is now a junior there, if you can believe that, for all of you that have been with us long enough to have been able to follow us along our family journey. That is one absolutely stunning campus that I believe is the quad right there. But if you look in the background, guys, those are the Blue Ridge Mountains, and it is just exquisite. The land, the air, everything about it is just absolutely a joy to go back. By the way, Daryl, I don't know if Daryl's not here today because they're on a little family vacation, I believe, this week. But Daryl went to James Madison University as well. It's actually where he met Eric. So yeah, like it's kind of crazy. Absolutely gorgeous campus. And then the bottom picture is Mr. James Madison himself, the statue there, which is kind of iconic and it's really beautiful. And I have to tell you a wonderful story that Alyssa told me. I said, give me a fun fact about JMU that I can share with everybody. So this is her fun fact. And this is something that I don't know, Allie. You can chime in if you've got time. I hear Easton, so maybe you don't have time. I don't know if it was at the orientation, like when they give you the tours, or where this fact is. I mean, again, when you go to the university, you get all this information. But the first thing is that it wasn't always James Madison University. Originally, it was a women's college, I believe, a women's college for teachers. And then it kind of evolved and it changed, and it was James Madison University. Unlike the University of Virginia with Thomas Jefferson, where Thomas Jefferson created that university, he did the design, the architecture for that community, or for that university. Thomas Jefferson, namesake, because he built it, James Madison did not build this one. So anyway, but here's the interesting fact. So if you've watched Hamilton, how many of you watched Hamilton? Raise your hand. How many watched it like 50 billion times? Me. If you happen to have watched or have ever seen, or if you know about history, James Madison was an incredible writer. He wrote like it was going out of time, or it was running out of time, right? So apparently, when George Washington won the presidency, he wanted to have an acceptance speech and a thank you speech kind of to Congress for him becoming president, but he didn't feel confident in his writing ability. So he asked James Madison to write that thank you note, that thank you letter to Congress. And it was eloquent. It was beautiful. Of course it was, because he was a master writer. Well, Congress loved it. They were so moved by the thank you note, by that letter from George Washington to Congress, they didn't feel confident enough in their writing ability to adequately reciprocate and do a "you're welcome" letter, a response to George Washington eloquently enough. So they asked James Madison to write that thank you response, or "you're welcome" response. So I think the fact, the little inside thing is that James Madison was writing the letters to himself, and that was kind of cool, actually. I think that's a really cool thing. So anyway, all right. So I think, my lovely friends, I think we are probably getting close to being done. I don't know if I missed anything. I didn't check for questions, but I will go back and look for questions and maybe add them on. Let's see. Everyone's saying me and raising your hand. Oh, yes, Hamilton. I was like, what did I ask? Okay, so very good. Dina says that that you taught a master class there once. Really? Okay, well, tell us, what kind of master class did you teach? We may have to share that. What a great story. It is a beautiful campus. Let's see. And then Susan, about Dawson, he's just a baby. How is he a junior in college? I know it's difficult. It's very hard to kind of, it's kind of hard to digest all of this, because it's just spinning too fast. I always feel like it's a merry-go-round that's going super fast, and I can't get off. and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's again, it's August 4th already. By the way, next week, Monday, is when kids go back to school. Somebody said that their school's already started where they are, so we are definitely in the back to school season. So as we wrap up for the day, if you or your little ones, grandkids, friends, nieces, neighbors, nephews, whomever it is, heading back to school, make sure that you keep an extra eye out for them. Make sure you are driving extra safe and not distracted, please, so that we can make sure that those kids on the school buses, those kids that are walking and riding bikes, are also going to be protected. So with that, I'm going to bid you guys an adieu for today. So as always, thank you so much for watching. We appreciate you so much. Please stay safe. Stay well. Remember, I love you. And happy house hunting. We'll see you guys next week. Bye.